Hi folks, welcome to episode 27 of the Christie Handknitting podcast. I'm your host Eva and I'm coming to you from my home in Perth in Scotland. Not the usual surroundings this week. We are downstairs in my lounge, which is in the middle of being decorated. I've got furniture and boxes and stuff moved all over the house again, and it's just organised chaos. It's been a couple of weeks since I last spoke to you. I've really been struggling with some sort of horrible nasty flu/chest infection that has completely floored me for the last 2 weeks. I've found it really quite difficult to breathe, never mind talk. I'm still not 100% right. I'm still very sort of run down, but I didn't want to leave it any longer, especially when we've got a knit along on the go at the moment before checking back in with you guys again. So we'll run through the introduction and we'll get on with the rest of the show. So you'll find me all over the internet and all the fun places. I'm Eva Christie Handknitting on Facebook and Tumblr. I'm at Eva Knits on Twitter. And if you want to find me in Ravelry, I'm Pan Within. We've also got a podcast group in Ravelry, so if you go up to the groups tab and type in Eva Christie Handknitting, then hopefully you should find us. So that's where you want to be eligible to take part in our knit-alongs and any sort of giveaways that are happening. And for that, you would also have to be subscribed to this podcast. Sorry, I'm going to end up going, excuse me, all the way through this podcast. I can feel it. So apologies that. If you like what you're seeing today, then please do hit the like button, give it a wee bit of love, and as I've already mentioned, you can always subscribe to make sure that you never miss an episode. I am aware that there have been a few issues with the YouTube algorithms recently, and not everyone's getting all the sort of notifications that they might normally have gotten whenever a new episode's uploaded. So you may also want to consider switching this podcast onto your notifications to make sure that you do get alerted every time that there's a new one up, if you're that hungry for more. I've got a feeling that I missed it out in my last podcast, and I'm so sorry. But I just want to thank all my returning viewers, and if you're checking me out for the first time as well, thank you for taking a bit of time out your day and tuning in. I hope you enjoy what you're seeing. So we'll go first into our knit-along news. So the big one that's still ongoing is the Glasgow Subway Cal. I'll run through where everybody is to the best of my ability, and for as long as my voice holds up as well. Excuse me. Back on the coffee today in my Moomin mug. Hopefully that'll help power me through. So at Cessnock we have Woolen Flute, we have Miss Katie Ann, we have Little Bee, and then at Ibrox we have Carol and Mac, Layla Spencer 15, Vivacia Knits, Mary Punk and Loozle. At Govan we have Tall Polish Girl, Yarn Girl 900, Sam Glover. Oh, and Little Bush Baby as well, and I have to say, Little Bush Baby, I absolutely love the photograph that you've put up in that thread. Actually having a pair of Halloween socks that you knitted, but having them taken actually at the stop on the subway and putting that picture up was just brilliant. It really made me smile. At Partick we have Delaney 33, Mint Pixie and Silverdale 11. Then at Kelvin Hall there is Whiskey Girl and Bubby's Mom 77. At Hillhead is Hickey Thump. At Kelvin Bridge we have Ladybug Lily. At St George's Cross we have Rainbow Ange. No one's at Cadden's at the minute, and no one's at Buchanan Street either. We have Handbag Crazy and the Yarn Goes On at St Enoch. And we've got a visitor. Are you going to come say hi, sweet pea? Come here. Oh, Smeagol wants to come and say hello to you all, but I think she's now getting a bit freaked out that I've lifted her up, even though I'm sitting on the floor. Hey, sweet pea. I don't think we can hear. Oh, you're just going to settle on my lap. She's down here. I'll lift her down. You can maybe see her a wee bit better. There she is. She's happier here at the minute, so that's where we'll keep her. This is my helpful knitting cat, aren't you, darling? Oh, and I think I need to tilt you back slightly now. There we go. Okay, so that's us through all the news for that knit along. You're going to go and walk all over my book, sweet pea. Good girl. She's not sure what's... that's not a scratchy, thank you. That's the side of my sofa, thanks. Right, the other big cal that's going on at the minute, and you're probably still a bit wonky here, is Socktoberfest. It's Socktoberfest, folks. Instead of... yeah, I'll show you what I've been doing for that just now in this segment. That might be the best thing. So, first up, I don't have them to show you, are some socks for my mother-in-law, Julia. I've been knitting before. Now it's her birthday on the 20th of October, so when they were finished I had to block them and give them straight away, and unfortunately, as I said, I wasn't well enough to podcast. I do have photographs. I've put them in a few other Ravelry groups pages because they are eligible for other people's knit-alongs, but I'll put a photograph up just a wee bit. Smeagol, thank you, darling, just a little bit later on to show you them for anybody who's interested. Now I've got a second pair of socks that I've finished this month, it's October, so you'll have seen these ones in progress. You may even, I don't even think I've finished the first one before. So these are a pair of socks that have been knitted in Bergeret de France Gimme 50. I don't have the name to the top of my head. Do I have a label? I may have a label on the project bag. Here we see. There we go. There's our label. So it's the Imprim Seal number, or colourway rather. So these are from my neighbour's daughter. As I said before, my podcast socks really are a labour of love. They're not something that I sell on. This neighbour's been very good to me. She's helped me out with the cats while Josh and I have been away at a wedding, and we look out for one another, and I do know that her daughter suffers from Raynaud's phenomena, just like me, and really feels the cold. So I agreed that I would knit her a couple of pairs of socks if she was happy to pay the price of the wool. So I'm giving my time on these pairs, which isn't normally something I do, and if they'd been a gift for her it would have been different, but this is what I'm doing on this occasion. So I'm really happy with how they turned out. I think, oh, bonus Smeagol fur on them. So that's the second pair of Socktoberfest socks finished. Then the other thing that I've been up to for Socktoberfest is these socks, and these aren't for me either. So you've not seen these at all. These socks, this is King Cole Zigzag. I don't have the label to hand at the moment. Again, it's just my own vanilla sock recipe. I've been doing the slip stitch heel flap and gusset and such. These are for my friend Tracy, who owns Lagenfeld Studio in Crieff. We have come up with a wee exchange because she asked me to knit her a pair of socks, and again I kind of gave her the spiel about socks are a labour of love. I don't normally do them to sell, but Tracy has very kindly said that I can be her featured artist in her studio from sort of mid-November for 6 weeks, so that's going to go right into the new year. Her place is in, did I say it's in Crieff? It's in the High Street in Crieff, and I'm just absolutely astounded and delighted that she asked me. She thinks enough of me as a textile artist to kind of have me as her featured artist, and you know, to do that it's a lovely exchange. So I finished the first of her socks, and I'm working on the heel at the minute for the second sock, and there we go, that's the back of it, and I'm absolutely delighted because I wound off a little bit and I've managed, if you can see it, look, they match perfectly, absolutely perfectly. And she didn't ask me for matching socks, but I've been able to do it. I might run into a little bit of trouble later on because there was a bit of a flaw in the weave, in the ball, excuse me, and there was a big lump in the pale blue, so I haven't sorted it out yet, but that'll tidy up when it's weaving the ends, but I had to cut the length of yarn and then obviously put a bit more length in it and start knitting again, so that stripe is a bit thinner, and that may affect because there aren't any other floss here on the second foot, but it is quite close to, well, it's about the toe area, so we shouldn't really cause too many problems, but as it goes on I'm not expecting it to possibly fully match up like it would have done. But these things happen, and still I'm quite chuffed as to how that's gone. Excuse me. Seriously, I really was quite poorly. Okay, that's where we are with Oktoberfest. The other thing, the other knit along that's going on at the minute, it's not so much a knit along, is one amongst podcasters that I've organised, and that is the Podcaster Festive Sock Swap. And I'm absolutely delighted to see some of the podcasters who are taking part have actually been talking a bit about it and showing off the socks that they're working on. That's really quite exciting. So Julie Ann of My Muddlings podcast, I think she was talking about it. I don't think she's showing what she was doing. Tiff from Knitting from the Mitten, she was showing off what she's up to, and I've seen Beardy Cheel as well, and I think Shara from What Shara Made, I think she's been talking about it as well. Head's still a wee bit fuzzy, but what's really exciting for me is that I actually know who's knitting for who. So to kind of see what people are coming out with when they found out who they've been matched up with, and the actual recipients don't know if that's their socks that are being knitted or not, is really quite exciting. So I'm getting all the warm and fuzzy feels from watching that. That's really quite exciting for me. Moving on to rehomed yarns. I wasn't really going to rehome anything. I was on a bit of a yarn ban until I can get my stash more under control. But I met up with Tracy a couple of weeks ago, and we'd popped through to Christie for the day, and so I could have a proper look at her studio, which is amazing. And there is a little sort of independent yarn shop in Christie. It's not so much as a yarn shop, it's more, I think it's called Snip Tack and Sew. They do a lot of homewares, upholstery, all that sort of thing, and then do curtains. Then as kind of a sideline, they stock a small amount of yarns, and they had a big bargain basket. They've always got a big bargain basket there, and it's usually mainly a lot of acrylics, sort of acrylic blends, but they had 6 balls of this merino blend, Aran superwash wool. It's got a very cute lamb on it. This is King Cole that does this. We've got 50 grams here. It's about 18 metres to the 50 grams. I don't have a huge amount of Aran in stash. It's actually quite difficult to get Aran from sort of local yarn shops or whatever in Scotland that is like proper wool. There doesn't tell you how much merino's in it, but it is 100% superwash wool. It is very soft, and this was actually marked down to £2 a ball. £2 a ball, which is an absolute steal. So I took the 6 that they had that were all the same dye lot. This is shade 773, it doesn't have a name, but I am totally delighted with this, and it just, yeah, that's more so the colour, you can get it there. Sorry, the lighting's not great today. Thrilled with that. I've had a couple of presents as well. Hiya, Martha! Hey, baby! Martha's coming for a visit now as well. All the cats are around. So I have had a couple of presents over the last couple of weeks, which were totally unnecessary, but I'm very grateful that people have chosen to do this. So the first up is a present from Linda, who is Whiskey Girl, and she recently was drawn by random number generator on the, I wouldn't say blanket blowout. It was blanket blowout, it wasn't blanket blitz, it was blanket blowout. and she lives relatively local to me, so I'd nipped into her husband's work and then handed over the minis that she'd won. And David, hi David, had handed over a gift that Linda had chosen for me, which is very, very sweet, and it comes from the company that she works for, which is the Highland Soap Company. So this is whiskey and honey with organic aloe vera hand wash. So that's very, very interesting. It's got a wee bit tartan ribbon at the top, and I'm very much looking forward to using this. So thank you, Linda. That's very kind of you indeed. And the second present I got was from Carolyn Mack, who is of The Next Beautiful Thing. She'd been doing a bit of snooping about my queue, seeing what I've got queued in Ravelry, what was on my wish list, and she chose to send me Beardy Chills forest shawl patterns. So that was lovely that she thought to do that. Really, really thrilled, thank you. I'm going to be looking forward to getting that knitted up sometime, hopefully in the near future. Have a wee look, see what else I got here. Yeah, so that's all been exciting and lovely. I have got one finished item, another finished item for you this time, so it wasn't just the socks that I finished. So, talking about Carolyn, and she doesn't know that I've done this yet, I'll pop this on for a moment. See if I can get it to sit okay. Isn't this hat amazing? So I watch Carolyn of the Next Beautiful Things podcast religiously. I love her to bits. I love how her son Ewan is usually her co-host, and I've been watching sort of back episodes and noticed the most amazing hat she was wearing one day, and I thought, oh, I wonder what that is. She didn't tell us what she was wearing, and I thought, I'll find out in due course. And then I went snooping about on her designs on Ravelry and went, oh my freaking goodness, it's one of Carolyn's own patterns. So this is the campsite hat. So I went and bought it there and then, and I don't buy a lot of patterns, to be honest, because I'm a designer myself and such, but I fell in love with this hat. I had to have the pattern, and I whipped this up. So I finished this yesterday afternoon, and I'd only started it the day before. It's paper pattern, so I won't give away too many details, but it's knit and DK. I just broke into a second 50-gram ball. It is a, what is it? It's a merino, cashmere and silk blend, and it's just gorgeous. And she recommends that you don't actually block it, and I can understand why. And it's lovely. It's lovely. So I've got a couple of photos of this that I'll have to go and pop up now as well. I didn't want to before now because I didn't want to kind of spoil the surprise that I'm wearing the design on the podcast here that I absolutely adore. What made this a really lovely experience as well was that I actually had the project in this bag, which Charlotte of Charlotte Knits made for me. I've got another bag like this, which I spoke about way back in the beginning. This is Rainbow Harris tweed, and there's only one person on the Isle of Harris who weaves this, and she only does it once a year. So Charlotte made me a bag out of that, and it's just amazing. The project book that I kept all the details of where I was in the pattern is this one, which was gifted to me by Christie in a swap, Christie of Little Bee Podcast. And then the stitch marker that I used was this little guy, this little fox, which was given to me by Charmaid. She sent me a present not so long ago, and I've got one that's swinging its way out to her. Yeah, and then I'm knitting a pattern by another podcaster, and it was just a whole sort of podcasting experience, and I loved everything about it. It was just amazing. So I'll take this off now. See if you can see the crown detail. I love the way it kind of comes together. Just an amazing hat. It costs just under £5 sterling, and I really would look at my hair. My hair's wild, it just does what it wants. Yeah, it's relatively an expensive pattern. It was a joy to knit. I thoroughly enjoyed every moment doing it. I'm happy with the yarn that I chose. It's got a good stitch definition in it. And yeah, I would totally recommend that if you're looking for a hat pattern, that's one that you go and consider going and buying. I will be knitting loads of these, absolute loads of them. Yeah, so let's move on. I'm trying to be conscious of my time as well because I'm due out to class quite soon. I'm halfway through my textile screen printing class at Perth College. Right, jumping about my notes a wee bit. Today, where am I? Okay, what I'm reading. I have been reading a fair bit because I've not really been well enough for much else. So, Les Mis, I'm still reading Les Mis. However, I'm 800 pages of the way through Les Mis now, so check that out. Which means I'm 66.6% of the way through Les Mis. I am still enjoying it. I started another book as well though, because it was just getting a wee bit heavy to lug about everywhere with me, and I've got my upstairs bathroom sorted now, so I actually have the bath, access to the bath. I've had a few baths recently which really helped trying to sort of clear my throat with all that steam. So I wanted a lighter book to take in because I always read in the bath. Bath times are about luxury for me and just taking a bit of time away from it all. So I have also started Death in the Penguin by Andrei Kirkov. I hope that's how you pronounce the name. Sorry if I'm butchering it. So, synopsis in the back. In today's Ukraine, all that stands between one man and murder by the mafia is a penguin. Victor is an aspiring writer with only Misha, his pet penguin, for company. Although he would prefer to write short stories, he earns a living composing obituaries for a newspaper. He longs to see his work published, yet the subjects of his obituaries continue to cling to life. But when he opens the newspaper to find his work in print for the first time, his pride swiftly turns to terror. He and Misha have been drawn into a trap from which there appears to be no escape. So it's a bit of black comedy. It's a very easy to read. Very quick read. I'm 33.7% of the way through this. And I've got to say that it's... I would be hard pressed to actually name any other piece of modern Russian literature, to be honest, because if someone's to ask me about Russian novels, I would immediately think of Tolstoy and the like. Oh, there's another few names that are kind of escape me at the minute, but that's the sort of thing that I would think of. So that's that. Just to read a book from a different country, different culture from my own is always, I find, quite interesting, and how it translates over as well. It actually feels like it's probably been written in English as first language, but I could be wrong. Am I wrong? No, it's been translated from the Russian by George Bird, so I am wrong, but it translates very well as well, which novels don't always tend to. Excuse me, I'm so sorry for all my coughing today. Trust me, it's nowhere near as bad as it was though. What else have I been doing? Watching. I've done a fair bit of watching. Well, I've been knitting as well. So here we go. I've been watching a box set on BBC iPlayer. I've watched episodes 1 to 3 of Ambulance, which follows shifts by the London Ambulance Service. It's probably not called the London Ambulance Service, but they're based in London. Yeah, some of that's quite hard hitting. It's not all an easy watch, but I've got an uncle who's a senior paramedic team leader. He's based in Paisley, so he kind of works sometimes out of some of the Glasgow hospitals, some of the busiest hospitals in the whole of Scotland. So I do quite enjoy sort of some documentaries, but particularly sort of medical dramas and medical documentaries and such. I generally find quite fascinating. I've watched with Josh 3 presidential debates that were recorded. I don't really want to get political here, but seriously, heaven help us if Donald Trump gets elected. I'm saying that as a young woman who is also classified as disabled. Do you know what? I don't even want to give him any more time on my podcast. I really I'm disgusted by the man. But then again, I don't live in America. I don't feel that sort of same tide. It's very difficult as an onlooker looking in. And if I do have any members of the podcast that are Team Trump, then do you know, I respect your right to be able to vote and to choose a candidate you want to choose. It's just he would not be my choice, and I'm quite scared that he might have his finger on the nuclear button. And that affects the entire world, you know. Animal babies, water babies, which I think we may also have watched an iPlayer. We had our nephew Theo over the weekend just passed, and he's big into animals and dinosaurs and science and such, so we watched that. What else did I watch? Oh, Sarah of Love Sock Knitting Podcast. Oh, she's such a sweetie, isn't she? She has been talking quite a lot recently about Jane Eyre. She's a big Jane Eyre fan, and she made me aware of a TV series of Jane Eyre that I wasn't aware of, starring Timothy Dalton. So at my absolute worst, when I was just trying to force as many cups of herbal tea down my throat and keep warm as I could and rest up as much as I could, did I do it all in one day? Excuse me. Don't think I did it quite all in one day. It might have been over 2, but I watched all 11 episodes of the 1986 British television adaptation of Jane Eyre, and oh my goodness, seriously, Timothy Dalton makes me go weak at the knees at the best of times, but he was just the most amazing Edward Fairfax Rochester. Oh, yeah. So if you're a Timothy Dalton fan or you do love Jane Eyre, go and check that out. I've got to say that I personally didn't like Zella Clark's depiction of Jane Eyre. She just seemed a wee bit too detached, not quite enough emotion in there. I mean, I know that she's supposed to be plain Jane and she's been really quite hard done to in life and all the rest of it, but I personally like a bit more emotion in my sort of heroines, and from the other adaptations of Jane Eyre I've watched, you've always really felt for Jane Eyre, whereas I didn't really empathise with her much in this adaptation at all. Maybe that's just me, but Timothy Dalton was the absolute standout star on it. I want to finish up with a little bit of pod love. So 2 new to me podcasts. They both don't have a huge amount of episodes out though, but you may want to go check them out. So the first one is Flame and Fibre podcast with Barbara from Pennsylvania. The flame comes into it because she is a lamp worker, which is the art of making glass with a torch, and she wears some of the jewellery and things that she's made, and she's thinking about exploring how she can incorporate that into her knitting work. She's a relatively new knitter. She's been at it for 3 years and she took early retirement, so it's quite interesting to hear about the other bits and pieces that she's up to. I think it was Adrian of the Freakish Lemon podcast that gave her a shout out. I think he met her at Rhinebeck, and it's kind of gone on from there, and he gave her a shout out in his podcast, and I thought, well, that sounds just a bit different, I'll go check it out. The other one is another Swedish knitting podcast that I've come across, and it's a Swedish knitting podcast, but it is done in English, and that's the Teddy's Knitting Podcast with Sebastian. So go give Sebastian a bit of love. I think she's quite nervous in her delivery. I think she's alluded to some health problems I went in at episode 2, so I'm going to work my way back and work my way forward as well. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if it's the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that she's got, which is problems with the joints, the hypermobility of which I've got some. But I know that she's got some autoimmune stuff going on, and she's quite anxious as well. So go ahead, go and meet her and give her a wee bit of love and a bit of encouragement, because I do think it's fascinating how, particularly we've got all the different European countries that are really coming into the fore, whereas Previously, it's most of the podcasts that you kind of come across are from, and they're very, very good, so it's not a criticism, but are from Canada or the US. So I always find it interesting when there's another European one kind of comes to the fore, or I'm made aware of it. There's stuff coming up, just briefly before I sign off. So stuff coming up, you will find me at the Perthshire Creates Christmas Design Market at the Perth Museum and Art Gallery. I believe that's on the 26th of November. It's a Saturday. I'll be there with all my bits and pieces and hand-dyed yarns, and the following day, which is the 27th, I'll be taking part in the Scotland Street Market on King Edward Street in Perth. It's where all the main markets happen in Perth. And yeah, I would really recommend that you get down to that one. There will be a stage and entertainment and everything going on, and they have confirmed, although I don't know if they've announced it properly on their Facebook page yet, but they do have the Red Hot Chili Pipers performing. And it's part of the bigger programme events of the Perth Christmas Winter Festival. So more details on those in coming podcasts, but do, if you're in the area or you fancy travelling through, please do come and see me. I'm also trying to get something together for the Cultural Celebration Day on the 20th of November as well, and I'm just looking for sort of confirmation on that, because I've been asked to get involved by the council in that one as well, so that's really good, and that will form part of our bid for Perth 2021 UK City of Culture. So to wind up, thank you for being with me today. I know it's not been easy. Excuse me, listening to me cough away, and it's not the most polite, so I am sorry. All that really remains for me is to wish you happiness, like I always do. So happy knitting, happy spinning, happy crocheting, happy sewing, happy whatever it is you do. Much love. Take care of one another. I might not be podcasting again before Halloween, so if you celebrate, have an awesome time. I do celebrate Samhain in the Celtic calendar, because that fits in with my personal belief system. So I'll do what I normally do with that, in setting up a little altar with photographs of my loved ones and friends who passed on, and I'll spend time thinking about them, the good times that we've had, all those memories, because it is the Celtic Day of the Dead at the end of the day. But yeah, whether you celebrate the fun trick-or-treating, guising side of it, or the other side of it, you know, stay safe, have a great time. Hopefully I'll get to record before that, but who knows. Socktoberfest is, the last day is the 31st, so please, 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 if you've knitted any socks, you must have cast them on either the 1st of October or after and completed them by that date. Go and add them to the thread in Ravelry. Like I've mentioned before, you must be subscribed to the podcast and a member of the group in Ravelry to be eligible, but you know, there's a prize. But yeah, happiness, lots of happiness. Take care, much love, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.